Unsolved.
The JonBenet Ramsey case.
How could this happen?
Because John Ramsey was molesting his daughter. Patsy was having difficulties with their daughter. Watch the movie Mommy Dearest. Someone working for the Ramsey family. Some predator in the neighborhood. Someone involved with the child beauty pageants. Something to do with John Ramsey's wealth. Now, unfortunately, child abuse occurs. So how can I accuse John Ramsey of molesting his daughter? Well, the autopsy shows that some kind of abuse occurred, and his daughter was found dead in his house. That's why I can accuse him of child molestation. And I can't just look at somebody and say, oh, that person's a child molester, that person isn't. Now, regarding the flashlight that was found on the Ramsey's kitchen countertop, John wrote in The Death of Innocence, or perhaps after we fell asleep, he familiarized himself with the house with the aid of a flashlight. A black Maglite type of flashlight was found on the kitchen counter. Now, during Patsy's police interview, she was shown a photograph, and she said, I think John Andrew gave it to John. So even today, John talks about the flashlight, but he knows he was given this flashlight by his son, John Andrew. So what is this? Is this a lie? And this is a significant item. It's possibly the murder weapon. And John allows this falsehood about who owns the flashlight to be out there. So I'm asking the viewers, what do you think? What does this imply? Is this just a simple, honest misunderstanding on John's part? Or is he lying to people even today about the flashlight? Is that just a little thing, or is that a significant thing? And we learned from the autopsy report that JonBenet's leg was wiped clean of some blood. Who's going to do that? The more I think about this is one of the biggest clues of the case. Why would anyone other than one of her parents wipe this blood off JonBenet? And we know JonBenet had fresh pineapple shortly after they got home that night, and it's possible John is the only one that knows for a fact that this happened. Now, this movie, Mommy Dearest, to me has similarities to the JonBenet Ramsey case. And it's about a mother who's having mental problems, and she's an actress, and she wants her daughter to be a certain way. And when they're alone, a lot of crazy things happen. And that's exactly what could have been happening in the JonBenet Ramsey case, with dresses and hair dyeing, and how JonBenet needs to behave. When she's only 6 years old, she's in kindergarten, and her mother is just unrealistic with her expectations. And when they're out of sight and people aren't around, there's one type of behavior. And then when they're out in public, there's a different kind of behavior. Now, another possibility is it was some person working for the Ramseys. And it's more likely that it was somebody working inside the house, like the housekeeper, because they would have had access or would have known about the writing pad and the pen and the back staircase and how to get into the house, and if the Ramseys were home or not, if the dog was home or not, things like that. This would include friends of the helpers. Linda Hoffman works there, but she speaks with her husband, and her husband might know some unsavory characters. So that's how this possible kidnapping gone bad occurred. Now, this scenario in other cases is a very common occurrence when a death of a child occurs. Some neighbor sees the child outside and conceives of the idea to steal the child. And you see this in the news often, and then they find, a half mile away, a quarter mile down the street, some crazy person has taken the child. Now, the fact that JonBenet was in these child beauty contests put her out there and exposed her to many different people. People out in the audience, and even people that did like the hair and the makeup and the routines, many different people. The problem with this theory is the ransom note doesn't have any clues to suggest that this is what occurred. There's nothing in the ransom note about the beauty contests. It doesn't mention her name specifically. There's just nothing there that would lead someone to believe that that's why she was kidnapped. Now, the ransom note definitely has clues pointing towards something to do with John's wealth or his business. The main being that $118,000 is very close to his work bonus. But there's other issues, just like not providing JonBenet's name, just saying your daughter, because they might not have known exactly how to spell her name or what her name was specifically. And other details in the ransom note about pretending to be a foreign faction, and how it ends with the John. Don't underestimate us, John. It's up to you, John. That they knew John well, maybe not with a personal relationship with him, but they knew he was the president of Access Graphics. Well, this ends this episode of Unsolved. You can kind of see how I feel about the case. And I don't share the common view that John and Patsy were such nice people. I think they were friendly to their friends and the news and their lawyers. But I think they were terrible parents. I think John neglected JonBenet and possibly abused her. Patsy saw her children as props and was using them for her entertainment. You can see this with like the Christmas video. She has them placed in the proper spots as she talks to the camera. I think good parents would have been frantically looking for their daughter that morning and would have found where she ultimately was found within a half hour. So next week I'll be back with another episode that has more details and more to say about this case. See ya.